Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Australian's webinar, Top 3 Topics for Your Budget 2025. Before starting, just a couple of things to take into consideration. The webinar will last for about 50 minutes. In case you have any questions, please submit them in the chat and we will reply them by email at a later stage. We will also send you the presentation as well as the link to the recording shortly. Today, our experts will explore the key regulatory areas they anticipate will be crucial in 2025, potentially requiring additional work, resources, and budget allocation for companies. Our colleague Kunsol Bozzo from the CMC department will take it from here. Kunsol, please, whenever you are ready.
So let's start. Good afternoon, everybody. So for the CMC area, we are going to review 3 topics, which are not new, but have upcoming deadlines in 2025, which may have an impact for the pharmaceutical industry. Topic 1, this is the obligation to assess and mitigate the risk of nitrosamine impurities in medicinal products. As you know, this is a critical aspect of pharmaceutical quality of medicines since nitrosamines are chemical compounds classified as probable human carcinogens, and their presence in drugs is considered unacceptable. So, both in the European Union and the United States, the guidance for a stepwise approach to control the risk was issued in 2020. But since then, several updates have been published. For example, in the European Union, the last update of acceptable intakes for nitrosamines is from 1st September this year. And the questions and answers for holders related to nitrosamine impurities in human medicines is updated since July. And this was the 21st review. So in the EU, although the deadlines of the call for review that consisted of 3 steps have passed, holders are expected to maintain the quality of their products through its life cycle. Therefore, holders are expected to continue to review and revisit the outcome of the evaluations when new information becomes available. This need for a continuous update is reflected in fact in the FDA guidance, Control of Nitrosamine Impurities in Human Drugs, which was last updated in September 2024, and in this case with a special focus on nitrosamine drug substances related impurities that maybe had not been reviewed adequately before. So FDA recommends conclusion of confirmatory testing for these related impurities, for these nitrosamine-related impurities of drug products, and submission of required changes by August 1st, 2025. It's important also to note that applicants should ascertain the risk of nitrosamine impurities as early as possible in the development process of a medicinal product, if feasible, before performing clinical studies. According to our experience in the European Union, although not clearly stated in the guidelines, this information is requested to applicants at the time of evaluating an investigation of medicinal products. So, all in all these points emphasize that it's important for holders to stay informed about the latest guidelines to ensure compliance with regulatory expectations and keep quality and safety of medicinal products. Topic 2. Topic 2 is the decision to delete titanium dioxide from the list of authorized food additives for use as a coloring matter in medicinal products. Again, we have a question of safety that has been part of the scientific discussions for a long time. Let's review the situation. The European Commission adopted in January 2022 a regulation withdrawing the authorization to use titanium dioxide as food additive in food products. This decision was based on a safety assessment performed and published by the European Food Safety Authority in May 2021, from which they could not rule out the possibility that this compound may have genotoxic effects. On request of the European Commission, the European Medicines Agency provided a scientific analysis on the use or avoidance of titanium dioxide in medicinal products. This was in September 2021. And in this opinion, the EMA recommended that titanium dioxide should remain for the time being on the list of authorized additives. And this was important to avoid shortages of medicinal products and hence a problem to the public health. Therefore, the regulation currently includes titanium dioxide and is allowed in the list of authorized additives for use in medicinal products as a colorant. But in the meantime, the European Commission also stated that pharmaceutical industry should make any possible efforts to accelerate research and development to find alternatives to replace titanium dioxide in medicinal products, both new and already authorized. Where we are now? Well, the European Commission also asked the EMA to provide updated recommendation towards the acceptability of titanium dioxide in pharmaceutical products by April this year. According to the minutes of the CMDH meeting held in March, the final feedback from the EMA to the European Commission request was presented and adopted and was sent to the European Commission. Now, the European Commission is expected to make a final decision on the ban in February 2025, following this updated EMA assessment. So the possibility remains that the use of titanium dioxide in drugs will also be banned. Obviously, it's expected that any ban would be implemented in such a manner that it should avoid supply disruptions that could impact patients, and a long transition period could be expected. Of note, the FDA did not identify concerns related to potential genotoxicity based on data available and assessed by them. Anyway, regulatory bodies worldwide are closely monitoring data and may adjust their regulations accordingly. And the pharmaceutical and food industry are exploring alternatives to titanium dioxide to comply with these changing regulations and address also consumer concerns. And the last topic, topic 3, is the submission of marketing authorization applications for allergen medicinal products in Spain. Well, we have another situation, which is the authorization status of allergen products in the member states. In the European Union, this is heterogeneous because allergen products, both for diagnostic and therapy, have been authorized and distributed during years in different member states based on different legal backgrounds, and in many cases without a marketing authorization. In general, according to the current regulations, a full marketing authorization with full set of data, obviously with full CMC data, should be requested. In Spain, finally, it was in July 2023 that it was published the law, Orden SND 778 of 2023, aimed to establish a procedure to enable the regularization of the current situation of allergen-based medicinal products in Spain. In January this year, companies that had been marketing industrially manufactured allergen-based products notified the list of affected products to the Spanish agency for regularization purposes. And in July this year, the official calendar for the regularization of allergen-based medicines and also the list of affected products was finally published. This is available in the Spanish agency website. So we have now a binding resolution that, on the one hand, is listing industrially produced allergen-based medications and allergen-based bulk medications as well that have been communicated. And on the other hand, we have an official schedule that details the deadlines for submitting the marketing authorization applications for these medications. This calendar is divided into 5 periods, and from 2025 is from 2025 to 2030, and sets the maximum time available for holders to submit applications for authorization. For next year, for the whole next year, the calendar foresees the submission of marketing authorizations applications for medicinal products of the following groups: positive and negative diagnostic controls, any product containing human albumin in its composition, products for diagnostic provocation tests, products containing Hymenoptera venom, and products containing peach extracts. This is the first period. So to summarize, the key points to note for this issue is that only medications listed in the binding resolution and for which marketing authorization is applied for within the specified timeframe can continue to be marketed. Otherwise, these products will no longer be authorized for sale. That's the summary I wanted to share with you.
Okay, so let's go to the first topic. It's ISO IDMP. Taking into account that the ISO IDMP is being implemented by EMA based on 4 domains of master data in pharmaceutical regulatory processes. SPOR, RS, substance, P, products, and O, organization are referential. This process consists on 2 phases. The first phase of implementation is RMS and OMS are already integrated in electronic application form. And the second phase of implementation involves 2 PMS and SMS, as well as more information of RMS and OMS. So on the right to the slide, you can see the typical picture of the set of ISO IDMP standards. The key feature could be the migration to PMS, and the corresponding data enrichment is highly recommended because this implementation is planned for 2025. The submission of the medicinal product data has been performed at pack size level. So 1 pack size corresponding to 1 EB code. This information has to be updated in ExitInPD. The last important thing will be the management of all the possible permission and roles required to work with the information of the medicinal product. I would like to highlight here that the company that have not reviewed and amended, if it is necessary, this data in ExitInPD should do it as soon as possible. Let's go to the second topic. Next slide, please. Okay. The next topic is ESMP, is the European Shortage Monitoring Platform. This platform will be used to gather information about medicine supply and demand in order to prevent, detect, and manage human medicine shortage in the European Union. The release of the platform will be by February 2025. The marketing authorization holders will have to perform routine shortage reporting via ESMP on potential or actual shortage, and during normal circumstances, forecasts are required. Since ESMP consume data of PMS, the marketing authorization holders must check the pack sizes data for products in ExitInPD, and the priority if the medicine that are included in annual list critical, because the deadline is February 2025, and the rest of the medicine during 2025. In case of a crisis, the marketing authorization holders will have 14 days to submit pack size information to ExitInPD. And in the platform, it will also be necessary to include manufacturing data, as for example, manufacturing methods, production plan, production capacity, and so on. So let's go to the third topic and the last. Next slide, please. Okay, so the last topic could be PMS, Product Management Service. The data from ExitInPD and SciMed have been migrated into PMS for CAPS, for non-CAPS from ExitInPD to PMS. The access to PMS is hosted under the Product Lifecycle Management only. This is due to the connection with other databases such as electronic application for and AP portals. It's essential that each medicinal product and pack size ID is correctly assigned and any error in exiting PD is amended. For non-CAPS data load on PMS PUI has been complete. All non-CAPS data is available in read-only mode via the PUI or the PLM portal. And for marketing authorization holder, recommend review non-CAPS data in PUI to ensure it aligns with SDMPT information and request the new PMS roles needed for PUI access. In the future, in the following steps, the industry or marketing authorization holder will have to enrich PMS through a user interface or via API with RIMS connection. So we recommend it again. We encourage to marketing authorization holder must review the records in SDMPD if they have not already done so. That's all for my side. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonia. Let's now move into lifecycle management with Pablo Lopez. Pablo, please, when you're ready.
Oh. Yes, thank you. I'm ready. Okay, thank you.
There we go.
Okay. Okay, regarding LCM lifecycle management, I'm going to talk about 3 important topics. The first topic would be the future challenges in regulatory procedures. I think the most important challenge that we have in the following times will be the reform of the whole European legislation. It is currently under revision, and the coming challenges are expected for 2026-2027, but I'm going to talk about not very briefly of this to have a context, okay? On 26th of April of 2023, the European Commission adopted a proposal for a new directive and a new regulation, which revised and replaced the existing general pharmaceutical legislation, which is currently the regulation 726 of 2004 and the directive 2001 of 83 of the European Commission. Okay, this revision aims to achieve the following main objectives: to make sure that all the patients has timely and equitable access to all the medicines across the UA, to enhance the security of supply of all the medicines across the UA, to continue to offering medicines environmentally sustainable across the European Union. Also to address antimicrobial resistance. But as I said, these challenges will be a bit in a long term, but the new variation legislation is triggered by this new European legislation. So this new variation legislation triggered the modification of the regulation that now apply to these changes in the lifecycle management. So the aim of this new variation legislation is to provide a more efficient lifecycle management of the medicines. In 11 of March of 2024, the European Commission triggered this delegated regulation 2024-1701, which amends the current regulation of the variations. This amendment will be in 2 phases. One phase is the short-term focus, which include simplifying the processes that we have normally in the submission of the several variations or in our daily day. And I'm going to clarify that this they are focused in simplifying these resources and processes. But there is also a long-term focus to adapt the complex products, adopting the ICH Q12, the concepts, and also the digitalization, but it will be in a long term. Okay, the first phase is expected to be applicable in the Q1 of 2025. The guideline, the European guideline of the variation, is now being written and reviewing by the experts. So we expect it to have the final draft and the final documentation at the beginning at early 2025. But we can summarize the hot topics of these new submission changes in the variations, which could be And the type 1A variations will be notified in batch as an annual reports to the agency, to the all national agencies, depending in which the product is authorized, in an annual report of minor changes. Only the type 1A variation, not the others, okay? Also, it's introduced the concept of supergrouping for the 1A and 1A immediate variation. In this case, we can submit also a 1A immediate variation regarding the supergrouping. And it will be the same variation submitted in several marketing authorizations of the same marketing authorization holder. In case of work sharing, now it is not mandatory, but with the new regulation will be completely mandatory for type 1V and type 2 variations, changes for changes impacted several MAs, the same change, and the same marketing authorization holder. All of this is included to simplify all the processes and reduce the charge of evaluation of the agencies. Okay. You can change the screen, please. Next slide. Okay, thank you. Okay, the second topic that I'm going to talk about is the digital transformation in lifecycle management of medicinal products. As my colleague said, we have an upcoming implementation of the EMA digital tools, all included in a SPOR, the new application form, the new product information, the product management system, the IRIS platform. So the applicants will need to adapt to this way of working and manage the EMA users and roles within each company. And we have to take into account that all in 2025, the implementation is immediate of some of these changes. So we have to be able to use these tools in routine and to ensure a suitable product lifecycle management of this. We have highlighted some topics that I think they are important, like creating EMA users and defining the corresponding roles, assessing the impact of this news on their internal procedures, ensuring that the different departments are aware of these changes, because all of these changes can affect two different departments in the whole company. So it's important the internal communication, provide the adequate training on how to manage the EMA portals and database. So I'm not going to go deeply on this because my colleague has been talking about this, but it's important to be aware that these changes are immediate. So we have to be, aware of it. Okay, next slide, please, Lydia. Okay, the last topic that I'm going to talk about is the new framework in the UK market, the Windsor framework. This Windsor framework will enter into force in 1 of January of 2025 and include new rules in the UK with impact on new and already authorized medicines. I have highlighted some important topics that we have to talking about regarding this new Windsor framework because the implementation is immediate. Changes in product licensing now. The MHRA, which is the UK agency, can register products in the whole UK. Okay, so this is change from the last legislation. There's a new categorization for the products into categorization 1 and categorization 2 products. And most important is that there is changes in the mock-ups in the outer labeling. Because of this, the companies have to adapt the outer labeling before of the implementation of this regulation. One of the changes important in the outer is that we have to include a statement UK only in the products that are registered in the UK. So because of this, a lot of mockups are affected, most of them obviously. And also the disapplication of the falsified medicines directive in Northern Ireland. Okay, so this is a disappointment from the European legislation. it is recommended to be updated of the guidelines because they are changing constantly. So it's important to be updated. Okay, from my side, it's all. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pablo. And now let's move into MedTech with Koldo Garcia. Koldo, please.
Yes, thank you, Lydia. So, hi everyone who have joined this webinar. Many thanks to all of you. So, among the most important MedTech issues to be highlighted for 2025, we can find the following. As the first point, we would like to emphasize the importance of strengthening the regulatory strategy by both sustaining existing certifications and securing new registrations. The landscape of medtech regulations is ever changing, and staying ahead of these changes is not just beneficial, it is mandatory for our continued successes. Firstly, let's mention the ongoing certification processes under MDR and IVDR that certainly many of you are working on. Please do not forget and consider the new transitional provisions published in the regulations that are cited below and which can have an impact on your strategy and on your budget. Next, we must consider the importance of QMS surveillance audits. These audits are not simply a check on your compliance, they are mandatory and an opportunity for continuous improvement. Change control management activities are equally critical, especially for those that are planned on current registrations and certifications. Your regulatory strategy should include other markets too, which comes with their own set of challenges and opportunities. So the impact of the regulatory strategy on your budget differs depending on each situation, but it is important to plan and anticipate the applicable potential costs in order to make a robust budget for next year. So next slide, please. Well, secondly, we would like to talk about a critical piece of legislation that will shape the future of medical devices and IVDs. This is the Artificial Intelligence Act or AI Act. This groundbreaking regulation lays down harmonized rules on AI for all products that use this new technology, including medical devices and IVDs. For these devices, the Act mandates that the conformity assessment procedures outlined in the corresponding MDR and IVDR must be followed. This means that the requirements of the AI Act will form an integral part of that assessment, ensuring that AI systems embedded within medical devices are safe, effective, and trustworthy. The Act introduces additional requirements that go beyond what is currently stipulated in the MDR and IVDR. These requirements include comprehensive governance and data management provisions for the training and testing data sets, ensuring that our data is not only robust and relevant, but also managed with the highest standard of integrity and transparency. The Act also imposes any record-keeping requirements, transparent design requirements, human oversight design requirements, and it emphasizes the importance of accuracy and cybersecurity requirements. You can check the proposed key dates below, and the impact of this Act in medical devices and IVDs using this technology is really high. However, for these products, there are still many challenges regarding the implementation of certain requirements. So next slide, please. And according to the official European Commission website, there are some MDCG guidance documents that are ongoing, and this means that they are going to be published soon to clarify, for example, the situation of medical devices and IVDs that use AI. So related to the previous AI Act, a significant update we are anticipating in the fourth quarter or 2024 is just the frequently asked questions on the interplay between MDR, IVDR, and the new AI Act. This will be crucial in helping us navigate the convergence of these regulatory frameworks and ensure that our AI-driven medical devices and IVDs comply with both sets of requirements effectively. Another instrumental publication to look out for is the targeted revisions of MDCG 2019-11. This revision will likely address the complexities brought about by new technologies such as AI and ensure that the guidance remains relevant and practical, considering the latest technological developments. Additionally, the guidance on the legal status of app providers is scheduled for the same period, and this document is expected to clarify the responsibilities and regulatory requirements for providers of software applications that qualify as medical devices or IVDs. Following our previous point of new public publications that are expected and shifting our focus to other topics and sectors apart from new technologies, we eagerly anticipate the royal decree for IVDs from the Spanish agency, which promises to provide a specific national guidance and requirements for IVDs in Spain. Furthermore, the MDCG is also expected to release a questions and answers guidance document on clinical investigation. And lastly, the guidance document on market surveillance for manufacturers of custom-made and adaptable devices that has been postponed until 2025. So in conclusion, these new and upcoming guidance documents underscore the dynamic nature of medical device regulations, and as industry professionals, it's our responsibility to stay informed and adapt to these changes, anticipating the necessary requirements and actions and saving part of our budget for them. So that's all from the medtech sector. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Koldo. And now let's move on to regulatory operations, electronic submissions with Eduardo Gomez.
Thanks, Lydia. Can you hear me properly?
Sure.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining. First, I would like to talk about FAERS. The FDA Adverse Event Reporting System is a database that contains adverse event reports, medication error reports, and product quality compliance resulting in adverse events that were submitted to FDA. Currently, pre-marketing and post-marketing safety reporting can be done through eCTD format or E2BR2 XML format, respectively. Effective from April 1st, submissions to FAERS must be submitted in E2BR3 XML format. Companies may choose to submit in ICH E2BR3 format before the 2026 deadline. However, please note that once a company submits in E2BR3 format, it is not allowed to revert to previous format or standards. FAERS with E2BR3 XML format can be submitted through the FDA Electronic Submission Gateway or through the Safety Reporting System. Next slide, please. Okay. The second topic I would like to talk is about the new European eCTD specifications and validation criteria. On 18th June 2024, a new version 3.1 of the EU eCTD M1 specification and 8.1 of validation criteria were published on the submission website, marking a significant milestone in electronic submission of medicinal product dossiers not seen since July 2016 and February 2018, respectively. But what's new in this new EU eCTD M1 specification? This version 3.1 sees the introduction of a number of changes across the specification. However, more specifically, the introduction of a new annex detailing the list of accepted file formats like Microsoft Word. The other main changes correspond to clarification on the use of related sequence, missing sections, mandatory sequence tracking table, duplicate documents already submitted, electronic signatures, addition of new submission types and units, and also some clarifications. What about the new EU eCTD validation criteria? This new validation criteria align with the new eCTD M1 specification version 3.1. The main changes correspond to the acceptance of new file formats, change of file sizes, security settings, PDF settings, and new bitlist values for North Island. I would like to talk also about the transition period. The initial phase starts at 18th June until 13 November 2024. In this period, submissions must comply with the current standards. In the intermediate acceptance between 1st December 2024 until 28 February 2025, submissions may comply with either current format and validation criteria or with the new ones. For the full transition period from 1st March 2025, only ECTDs compliant with EU N1 version 3.1 and validation criteria version 8.0 will be accepted. Applicants must wait until the corresponding ECTD publishing software providers releases these changes through their applications. We encourage to plan the next steps and be prepared for the software update and software validation. Next slide, please. Okay, thank you. Finally, I would like to comment on the latest developments in the implementation of ECTD 4.0 worldwide. As you may already know, the goal of upgrading from ECTD 3.2.2 to ECTD version 4.0 is to facilitate the processing and review of regulatory submissions. Brazil's Health Authority, Anvisa, has planned a technical pilot for Q4 2025, followed by production in Q1 2026 and voluntary submissions in 4.0 in 2026. For Europe, the technical pilot starts in 2024, and the 4.0 format for centralized procedures will start to be accepted in 2025 and become mandatory in 2027. For the rest of the procedures, national and decentralized, submissions in 4.0 format are scheduled to be allowed in 2026, with the date of obligatory submissions still to be confirmed. The FDA in the US has already finalized the technical pilot, and submissions in 4.0 are now accepted. However, it will not be mandatory until 2029, and both formats will coexist simultaneously until then. Health Canada has scheduled the technical pilot for 2025, with voluntary submissions in 2026 and mandatory submissions in 2028. For Korea, the Health Authority has not yet defined the dates of the technical pilot. It is planned that 4.0 will become an acceptable format in 2027, but it is not defined when it will become mandatory. Japan, as the most advanced region in the adoption of ECTD 4.0, has also completed the technical pilot, and submissions can be performed in 4.0 since 2022. It will become mandatory in 2026. In Switzerland, Swissmedic has scheduled a technical pilot for 2025, with voluntary submissions in 2026 and mandatory submissions in 2028. And finally, Australia has scheduled the technical pilot for Q4 2025, voluntary in 2026, and mandatory submissions still to be defined. That's all. Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much, Eduardo. And now let's move on to pharmacovigilance and vigilance with Laura Eder. Laura, please.
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Lydia. So in pharmacovigilance, we want to start talking about the periodic safety update reports. As you know, the PCURs is a crucial pharmacovigilance document that evaluates the risk-benefit balance of the medicinal products. As you know, the EOR list is a comprehensive list of active substance and combination of active substance containing in medicinal products subject to different marketing authorizations, together with the corresponding EU reference date, frequencies for submission of PCURs, and related data log points. Well, the point here is that the EOR list contained a set of 1,000 entries which PCUR assessment were initially deferred as other active substances were prioritized. These deferred PCURs are due in 2025. So the impact of PCUR elaboration in 2025 on a pharmaceutical company's budgets and resources is a reality to face. Here we can talk about resources impact of PCURs, and we can talk about three different areas. One is impact on staff training, in data management, and also in medical writing. Why is staff training? because for elaboration of PSUR, we need continuous training of staff on updated guidelines and pharmacovigilance systems. Also, there is an increased need for data management personnel to handle the growing volume and complexity of safety data. Regarding medical writing, we need skilled medical writers for creating clear and compliance PSURs. So this means that, next, Lydia, please. We need extra help. We need extra help in the field of regulatory intelligence, staying updated with evolving regulations and guidelines for PSUR globally, and also understanding the implication of legislation on PSUR requirements. Also, we need extra help in data collection and analysis, because data collection systems are needed to capture all necessary safety information. And also, we need pharmacovigilance software capabilities for a robust data analysis. Also, regarding quality assurance, we need extra help ensuring that PSURs meet quality standards and regulatory requirements, and also conducting internal audits and reviews to maintain compliance. And also, of course, we need extra help coordinating with external partners, CROs, and vendors who contribute to PSUR-related activities. So, Lydia, please, can you click? As a solution, we have to establish an strategic planning for 2025, allocating resources effectively and proactive budget planning for PSUR-related activities. We also have to invest in training and development for staff. Also, we have to invest in technology solutions that streamline PSUR procedures, and also think about strategic outsourcing to manage workload peaks. The second topic I want to talk regarding pharmacovigilance is the pharmacovigilance audits. Why? This is because the pharmaceutical industry is subject to rigorous regulatory oversight, and audits are a critical aspect for ensuring compliance with various laws and guidelines. There are several potential impacts of audits on pharmaceutical companies' budget and resources, where additional support may be necessary. Here we can talk about financial impact and also about resources impact. So regarding financial impact, here there are two concepts that we have to have in mind. One is the compliance cost, another is the CAPA expenses. This is because more frequent audits or more instances of audit processes lead to higher compliance cost. And of course, if audits uncover no compliance, companies may need to invest in CAPA efforts. Regarding resources impact and audits, it's important to take into account that audits lead to an increased workload for staff. Why? More stringent audits lead, as I said, to the need for more personnel or overtime work. Also, here we can talk about training needs, because new or updated regulation may necessitate specialized training for the staff involved in compliance and audit-related tasks. Also, regarding resources impact, I want to talk about technology investments. Why? It's important to invest in IT systems for the data management and traceability, because we have to have in mind that this could be necessary for the audit preparedness. So in view of this, I want to talk about the key points to consider for audit preparedness in 2025. First, we need one point is the proactive compliance management. We have to establish regularly updated compliance programs to reflect the latest regulatory changes, and also conduct internal audits. Other key point for audit preparedness is to invest in training. It's important to have continuous training programs for employees to ensure they understand their roles in maintaining compliance. Also, it's important to enhance IT systems to ensure that the document management is audit-ready and the data integrity is maintained. Also, we can talk about financial planning. Set aside a contingency fund in the budget for potential audit-related expenses. And the last point is the external partnership. It's important to consider partnership with consultancy firms that specialize in compliance and can offer tailored support. I want to finish my part talking about a little bit of clinical trials. Why critical clinical trials? Why? This is because clinical trials are fundamental to the advancements of medicines, and they enable the development of new treatment and ensure that these interventions are safe and effective for patient use, and at the end leading to better health outcomes and enhancing public health. Regarding safety activities, as you already know, safety activities are highly regulated, and now regarding clinical trials are centralized at a global level. An example is the ultravigilance reporting. So clinical trials have a significant impact on a pharmaceutical company's budget and resources. Before talking about the impact, I want to talk about some factors that increase the complexity of the clinical trials and at the end have an impact on the budget. These are the study design, the multiple sites, global and local regulatory INC requirements that we have to compile, clinical operations. Here we can talk about the elaboration of the investigational brochure, also the protocols and all the safety reports, that's like the annual safety reports. Also, maybe in some clinical trials, we have many stakeholders involved, so we need to have agreements in place. And also it's important to have in mind the term of cross-reporting. So all of these can have an impact again on resources. And here I want to talk about regulatory intelligence first, because we need to establish a system for the continuous monitoring to ensure compliance with regulatory standards and good clinical practice guidelines. Also, it's important to have into account the impact that this can have in data management and analysis. Why? Because collecting, storing, and analyzing trial data requires sophisticated IT systems and specialized personnel. Then I want to talk about adverse event reporting, because here in clinical trials, we need to have in place procedures for the monitoring and reporting of adverse events, as well as the elaboration of TCR or annual safety reports. And at the end, there is an impact on personnel because we need staff trained in trial-specific protocols, guidelines, safety management, and compliance. So, as a solution, we have to establish mitigation strategies. This means risk-sharing agreements with other stakeholders, and also have a robust safety management plan. Also, it's important to have into account that outsourcing certain trial companies to CROs of regulatory service providers can reduce costs and increase efficiency. So with this, I finished my part. Thank you, everybody, for coming to this webinar.
Thank you, Laura. Thank you so much. And now we move on to development writing with Enrique Gutierrez. Enrique, please, when you're ready.
Oh, hello, everybody. I'm ready. So the first topic that I will talk about is the upcoming, there is a change in a guideline for ATMPs therapies. So there will be the release of a new guidelines in 2025 for advanced therapies. For the moment, there is a draft guideline, including gene and cell therapies, clarifying aspects of CMC, non-clinical and clinical requirements. So although this guideline is very multidisciplinary across different aspects, a large portion focuses on CMC. One key aspect is that the new guideline confirms that the classification of all the materials for ex vivo gene editing, such as plasmids, recombinant proteins, and mRNA, are still considered as starting materials and not raw materials, and therefore their production is subjected to GMP principles. This is a difference in the European regulatory framework compared to the FDA, in which the consideration of starting materials and the requirements for GMP production is more flexible and based on risk assessments. On the other hand, the new guideline states that preferably a suitable potential assays should be in place before the first in-human trial, but contrary to the previous guideline, does not specifically mention the need to validate this method before the starting of confirmatory clinical trials. So in terms of clinical aspects, there are not much variations. So we know that the ATMP's clinical trials usually are much more complex than clinical trials for other medicinal products. So especially for the case of exploratory clinical trials, early trials that need to include higher amount of endpoints like efficacy, pharmacodynamics, safety, pharmacokinetic assessments, and also they have longer duration because usually safety assessments have to cover a largest time window in order to observe adverse events that can happen, especially related to immunogenicity and so on at later stages. And in the case of confirmatory clinical trials, although the guideline says that although the use of historical controls of course is a common approach for the control arm, randomized control clinical trials, whenever they are possible, are the preferred approach. So regarding opportunities in the European framework, companies developing ATMPs can opt to fee reductions for procedures like scientific advices and also for certification procedures. Also, there is a new pilot program started launched in September 2022 for academic and non-profit organizations that are interested in developing promising advanced therapy medicines. And this program can offer guidance throughout the regulatory process for these academic and non-profit organizations to cover also aspects of manufacturing best practices, clinical development, and follow-up planning on efficacy or safety issues, as well as the option to apply for fee reductions and waivers. So next slide. So the following topic is about the framework of biosimilars. In the current regulatory landscape for the approval of biosimilars is different in Europe and in the USA, but the FDA has the intention to introduce changes to move towards a more similar approach to the European framework. So in Europe, in April 2023, the EMA released a statement declaring that all biosimilars approved in the European Union are considered interchangeable. As mentioned, this situation is different in the United States, where the FDA establishes a difference between a product that is biosimilar and a product that is interchangeable. In practical terms, this difference means that for biosimilar products that are not considered interchangeable, the switch from a reference product to another to this biosimilar can only be conducted following the prescription of a healthcare professional. So in order to obtain the approval of a biosimilar as interchangeable product, the sponsors usually have to provide data from complex clinical trials in which patients are switched from a reference product to the biosimilar in order to prove that this switching does not affect the safety and the efficacy of the product, with especially special attention to events related to, for instance, immunogenicity. But in terms of opportunities, recently this framework probably is going to change, and indeed the FDA published this year in June 2024 a draft guideline indicating the intention to introduce changes in the current guidelines to support interchangeability. In this regard, the draft guideline recommends that the applicants for an interchangeability proposal should include an assessment on why the analytical and clinical studies conducted with the biosimilar, with a certain biosimilar, can support this consideration as interchangeable, even in the absence of a specific clinical switching studies. This is also valid for products that are currently approved as biosimilar in the market, but seek to obtain an authorization as interchangeable products. Also, in the budget proposal of the US government for 2025, there is the intention to move towards the European framework, introducing changes to allow the consideration of all biosimilars as interchangeable products that can replace a reference product, or another biosimilar without the prescription of a healthcare professional. So it's highly recommended to take in consideration these upcoming changes and engage with regulatory authorities like the EMA and the FDA to validate the product development plan prior marketing submissions. So next. So just the final topic is about the introduction of changes in the field of real-world evidence studies by the FDA and the EMA. So in this regard, different initiatives have been established to increase the use of real-world evidence studies in regulatory decisions, in line with the International Coalition of Medicine Regulatory Authorities' intention to enable the use of real-world evidence studies in regulatory decision-making. In the USA, the Advancing Real-World Evidence Program by the FDA provides a forum for companies to get advice on the suitability and design of studies based on real-world evidence. In Europe, the European Medicines Agency and the European Medicines Regulatory Network established in 2022 the DARWEN Initiative. So this project is aimed at establish a centralized network with the goal of creating a high-quality catalog of real-world data that can be used in real-world evidence studies, as well as to provide real-world evidence studies on demand by the EMA to support decisions on regulatory aspects. So in terms of opportunities, sponsors that apply to the Advancing Real-World Evidence Program by the FDA, so can receive advice by the FDA with regards to the planification and conductance of real-world evidence studies, for instance, in support of new labeling claims for a medicinal product, including new indications of approved medicinal products or post-approval study requirements. Similarly, in the case of Europe, catalogs including standardized data from different sources are also available to provide high-quality information that can be used in support of real-world evidence studies. And the fact that the EMA is increasingly requesting real-world evidence studies to third parties like DARWEN Network to support regulatory decisions indicates the possibility to increase the weight of real-world evidence studies, for instance, in the planification of safety post-marketing studies conducted by sponsors for medicinal products. So that's all from my side. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Enrique. Excellent. And thanks everybody for being here today. Remember that we will send you the presentation and the recording shortly. Feel free to send us your questions at info@asfalion.com, and have a good afternoon, everyone. Bye-bye.